Lauren Zander. Lauren Handel Zander.
Yes.
What are we going by these days?
Lauren Zander.
Lauren Zander. Okay.
Lauren Zander.
Okay. I like it.
I love it. I really do.
Good. And so I'm going to do a proper intro, but I just think I want people to really understand like the depth of our relationship and how long we've known each other and how long we worked together. But certainly neither one of us remember what year it was. Goldfish memories. I want to say it was about 2016 or 17 that we started coaching together. I think it's fun. I want to share our origin story. As I remember it.
I remember it too.
Well, my first one is that we finally, I think we had okay. Our origin story, as I remember it, is we met at the club. What was the club you used to work out of? The Core Club.
Core Club.
And we had a meeting, and it was, I think, you were like, okay, tell me about your life. And I was like, this, that, and the other. And you were like, oh no. You're like, don't drive a Ferrari in the city. I was like, you said you don't need me right now. I was like, what do you mean? And I remember I went home and I tweeted out, I was like, I think I just got fired from a life coach because my life is too good.
That's right.
But you were like, do not call me unless you're ready to blow shit up. Like, don't call me unless you're ready to blow your life up. And I was happy with my life at that time.
Yes, you really were.
And so then we cut to A-Fest. We both were speaking at an A-Fest with Mind Valley.
Yes.
And then we met up again as friends.
Yeah.
And we were just chatting as friends. And next thing I know, my whole life blew up. Next thing I know, we started working together as coaches. And let me be clear. I started telling the truth more, right? I started getting honest with myself and others.
Yeah.
And it shifted some things tectonically in my life. But can you tell me, like, when did you first, like, discover the power and potency of telling the truth?
Ooh. So I come from an Orthodox Jewish family with a bunch of kids that lied to their parents. And I was the youngest. And there was, like, the ritual of how you lie and get out of the house for the weekend.
Yeah.
And I was set up well for that. And the funny thing is I had tickets that night to go with my friend Susan to the Cure concert in Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
And my dad, who's reading the New York Times, like, peeks over and he's like, where are you going, kiddo? I'm like, I'm going to Susan's, right? Like, all's good. And then I like watched his eyebrow twitch a little, like, sure, kid. And I was like, out of my mouth, I said, if you ever want to know what the truth is about where I'm going, as long as you don't stop me, I would much prefer telling you everything, Daddy.
Wow.
I was 13.
Okay. And what did Daddy say?
My
to that?
mother was on the bed. She was like, what? Like time stopped because it had never been done before in my family. And he let me go to the concert.
So did he ask? He said, I want to know where you're going?
He wanted to know. And I'm like, Susan's dad's driving us, right? I was a good girl, right? I wasn't getting myself in trouble, right? But I was sleeping, right? I was going to her house. We were going to Madison Square Garden and we were going to see the concert and we were chaperoned, right?
This is so fascinating that we found each other because I'm the exact opposite. So I have a sister who's 7 years older, who's amazing and brave, and she told the truth, and she would like stand up to my dad, and I watched them fight, and I was like, oh no. So as a child, I learned like, do not tell the truth, just do whatever it takes to keep the peace. And so like hiding, manipulating the truth, like just telling people what they wanted to hear became a survival mechanism for me. And so I think that's why when we met, this medicine was so important and so transformative. And I'm not perfect at it. Like I love what you say, like everyone is liars. Lying is not a morality issue. Lying is a happiness issue. And that's something I really want to dive into today, that lying is not a morality issue, but a happiness issue.
Yes.
And I have found that to be true, that if I can face my fear and tell the truth, I just get happier and freer.
Yes.
And then life gets easier, actually.
Yes.
But it is scary to tell the truth.
Yes.
So why isn't everyone telling the truth? Like, I normally wait a minute, but I want to start with that.
Okay, so...
Well, and specifically, why isn't everyone telling the truth about their lies?
Okay, so people carry a lot of shame. I want you to like me. I want you to be happy with me, right? So what happens is people put other people's happiness above their own in their heads. And so if I tell you the truth, you'll be mad at me. Or if I tell you the truth, it won't go my way, and I want everyone to be happy. So the human thinks that they're doing a good job, like it's a virtue to manage the information that's coming out of your mouth. And so you don't realize that your self, your truth, is your higher self. You don't realize that how you really feel, what you really want, is the true you. And
what
so
you really want is the true you.
Yes. That doesn't mean you're always going to get it. Doesn't mean the person you're with is going to give it to you. But you can't negotiate from a place of trying to please or what do you think you can get. And so you're always managing a pretense. And then that becomes really the sport of being alive in your head.
What does that mean, the sport of being alive in your head?
So the sport of being alive is that most people can't even tell you what their inner dialogue is saying. Like, can you stop down and tell you what it said today? Like, what is it saying about you? What's it saying about them? What's it saying about life? Right? And you have an inner dialogue, and it just rolls and rolls and rolls. So the sport about life is you got to hear what it's saying. You have to know what that voice is saying and even where it comes from and why it's even saying any of that, which is where all the lies on the inside happen and the lies on the outside happen, right? Is all in control center, right? And you have, and so what I do is I have people actually get into how their mind or what you say about everything, right? And the whole Handel method is a process of how to get the truth out and even sort out your truth. So I like to call that a game.
So fun, that game of finding all the ways you're lying to yourself.
It's your spirit, right? It's your soul. And really, I don't start there. I always start with a person's dreams.
Wait, that's what I was going to say. Like, for anyone listening to this, and they're like, I don't want to know what I'm saying to myself. I don't want to clean up my lies. I don't even want to know the ways that I'm lying to myself. Like, how would you sell someone in this? And I think the answer you just said is that we first say that, well, this would be the prerequisite to you getting to your dreams.
Yes, it is. It really is. If you don't know yourself and you can't be true to yourself, what are you being true to? Who are you being true for? And then, I have lots of fun words like, oh, you're pleasy. You're pleasing everyone else. And isn't that sleazy of you, right? Because you don't even know what you think or want, let alone you can't do the work to get it if you're not true to yourself. And you can't get true to yourself if you won't tell the truth. Seems obvious, right?
And how does one even know? Like, if you're lying to yourself, how do you find out if you're lying to yourself?
Well, first, we know. If you start looking at the ways you're excusing things that can happen, at the ways you're talking about yourself or others, you're keeping secrets. You're managing what other people think. All of that is ways that we're lying. Right. And so then I start to make categories of ways we lie. Like there's 7 main ways we lie. Right.
Let's hear them.
Okay. Oh, it's always so funny. I have to remember them. Okay. So social grease is one, like white lies. You look great. And then in your head, you're really going, I think she gained weight. Right. So but you'll always social grease. Right? Oh, I'm great. This is all the ways we white lie. Right? Then there is misrepresentations. Like, oh, I love that book. I had the best time. Right? Where you're saying things to sound cool or to look impressive, even though it's not really true, but no one knows. Right? And then we exaggerate. I did so well on that deal. Or, oh my God, I love that person. You've met them twice. So we exaggerate, we under exaggerate. So you don't want anyone to know how well you're doing because you don't want to get anybody upset. So then you lie the other way, like, oh yeah, I had a good time. Right? So all of these ways, and then there's the ones we know, which are big, big, bold-faced lies where you're like, I didn't go. Yes, you did. I don't know him. Yes, you do. Right? Like, what happened? Right? So there's those. And then there's withholding information. right? Where you didn't ask, I didn't tell.
That's my favorite.
I know.
It's my favorite flavor of lying.
There's yours. And then I had to make a new category. Secrets you're taking to the grave. Things you think are no one's business on earth, which are the ones where we really carry a lot of shame, where those are the ones that are really hurting us. Like, I have coached people where they haven't even told their husband, who they love, things that they've been through or have done. Mm-hmm. Right. And so, which also keep you connected to your identity. Right. Like you think, people will hate you or you're not loved. This helps create the imposter syndrome. Everyone's like, where's the imposter syndrome come from? I'm like, all the ways you lie. And everyone's like, oh, you can't help it. Like, it's just the way of the world. And I'm like, no, you can actually stop that.
And what have you seen happen in people? Like, if it's true that lying is not a morality issue, and I guess of these 7 flavors, I guess you could say that like the straight up, like bold-faced, intentional lying, that one, I think that's what we all call lying societally, and I think we judge that one as morally bad.
Yes.
But if we assume that everyone is lying to some degree, kind of all of the time,
sure.
I mean, that's an exaggeration. I'm going to call myself out on exaggerating in real time, but
yes.
Often we're lying more often than we know.
Yes.
So if it is true that lying is a happiness issue, meaning that the more you tell the truth, the happier you are.
Yes.
Can you give us some stories of like your clients or people who you've coached, or miracles that you've seen happen, or dreams that have come true as a result of specifically cleaning up lies and telling the truth?
Oh my God. So I can think of, So when people write up their dreams, so I break life out into 12 different areas, and I ask for your vision in each of the 12, right? And then and then I ask, what's stopping you from having that be true, right? Like, please explain why you're at a 6. I give you a rating scale, and I want to know why you're giving yourself that rating, and what do you think is between you and fulfilling on that dream? And literally what they write is a paragraph of lies. Because the reason you don't have that dream is it's in there, right? Like, everything you're telling yourself.
So you write down the dream. The dream is like where I want to be.
Where you wish your life was in your business, in your love life, where your home, right? And then you really have a dream. People have dreams, and you have to articulate your dream. But the minute you tell the dream, every reason that you have and every way you explain why you can't have that dream is real for you, but all of that are actually lies. There are ways you're exaggerating about what you're not good at. There are ways you go, I'm shy, I can never do that. Like, everything that's between you and your dream, I tend to turn into BS. Right? They're all your excuses and justifications, and the way you talk to yourself and really talk yourself out of fulfilling on your vision.
Okay, so this feels like a good clue as to how you can learn how and what you're lying to yourself about.
That's right.
Right, like look at what's keeping you from the dream.
That's right.
Whatever your dream is.
And then that really is the hook, because the dream is worth it. That's your true self. Like, I want to be that successful. I want to feel that in love. I want my sex life to feel like that. And then comes all the reasons you can't have it. And that becomes BS, because that's what's between you and fulfilling on your dream. And really, what I like to teach is you're here to fulfill on your dreams. Obviously.
And so can you give us some stories of, like, because I imagine lots of people listening to this are like, I don't want to tell them the truth. I don't want to clean this up. It sounds terrifying.
Yes.
So I think we got to kind of sell people on telling the truth a little bit.
Okay, fine.
Like, give us some dreams, some miracles.
Well, first, how I really do it is I don't go for the big ones. Okay. Like, I just have people stop lying in social grease. Like, don't tell people you're happy when you're not. Actually, just tell everyone the truth about how you're feeling in the moment. You don't have to go into it. Right. So I have people take that lie list and go, how do you do it? How do you do it on your insides?
How do you do what?
How do you lie? How do you exaggerate? What are you exaggerating? What are you pretending you're happier about that you're not? What do you pretend you're like you need help with that maybe you don't? Like all the ways you're misrepresenting on the inside and on the outside. And so when it's just between you and a coach or you and yourself, you can start to see that telling the truth to yourself is actually really interesting. Like, oh, I am exaggerating that my relationship with my mother is really that bad. Like, it's not, is it really that bad? It hasn't really been that bad. Like, why is it so bad? So you could start to question your own logic of how you're, what I would say is automated into feeling stuck in your life. So unpacking lying gets you unstuck and starts to have you see that you're creating these barriers. Like, I can't tell you the truth. Why can't you tell them the truth? Why can't you ask for that raise? So most people, so I can think of every client is stopping themselves because they have a lesser opinion of themselves. And then when you start to figure out all the ways you lie, you can actually go, well, I could tell the truth about that. I can say everything, right? Like, you start to build the courage to have hard conversations that get you what you want. In bed, with your kids, right? Like, it has you start to change all your own dynamics.
Yeah, so that feels like something we could, like some
Is
medicine.
that better?
Well, it wasn't really a sales pitch on the dreams, but I think since you touched on it,
Okay.
what I think having hard conversations is a lot of what is ailing families, individuals,
That's right.
companies, countries, and which is ultimately a fear of telling the truth
Yes.
or a fear of conflict.
Yep.
And so I know that you have a beautiful format for this. I've used it. I've literally
Yes.
written it out.
Yes.
I've done it.
Yes.
Many relationships, many
Yep.
coworkers. And so is that something you'd be willing to share with people listening of like, here are the basics of having a difficult conversation?
So the first thing you do is you write the laundry list of everything you're pissed at, right? Like everything and then you, like, first you have to purge, right? Like, first you have to find out that you're pent up and you're pissed and you have a long list of things you don't think you can say. And then you say them, right? To yourself or to someone who will, like, you just purge it all out. And then once you get it, you go, well, what am I really upset about? Like, oh, these are the 4 things that are really upsetting me. And then what do you think the outcome would be if they knew that? Like, what are your real fears? Right? You have a fear that if you tell the truth, they will fill in the blank. They won't talk to me anymore. They won't love me the same. They'll yell at me. They'll break up with me. Right? And, I can't save you from that it could happen, right? I can't save you from the truth. May set you free. It might make a mess, but it will set you free. So it is true. Things won't always go perfectly. Okay. So that is my warning label, everyone. Okay.
Okay, you've been warned.
You've been warned. But you'd be surprised that when you lay out a conversation where you go, I want to tell you the truth. Because I love you, because I want this relationship to be deeper, because there's things in this relationship where I don't feel safe to tell you things, and I want to be able to tell you my list so that we can be closer. Like, what's the outcome and why you would be so brave as to tell the truth.
Yeah, that feels really important. Like, where are we going? Why? I'm not saying this to hurt you.
No.
I'm not saying this to be mean.
No.
This is my intention in speaking the truth. I think that goes a really long way.
That is the reason you would do it, right? Yeah. That is exactly, I'm having this hard conversation with you to get us closer, to really feel vulnerable and intimate and have an amazing relationship. Because I'm hiding these things and I don't feel as close as I could. And so you're also telling your secrets, or you're sharing these things, and you're not blaming them. These are not their fault, everyone, right? It's really important that you go, these are my issues that I've been hiding. And I want to tell you the truth so I can hear what you really think, and that we can really negotiate and come to terms on my concerns or my issues or whatever I'm not telling you about. So it actually opens up the dialogue. And then what you're talking about is you write it all out, right? You even script it. For those of us who are manifestors, you would design what you would say and why you're saying it, and even what you want to hear back from them. Like, and because a lot of it is we pretend we know what they're going to say back, which is why we can't say something, but we really don't.
Don't know.
We have no idea what the person's going to say. And then we are assuming that we're the one that has all the secrets and the lies versus, not in a dirty way, but like not telling the truth. So are they, right? If you're holding back, what are the odds they're holding back? Right? So I'm having this conversation so we both get to tell all our truths. And so I'm going to go first and I'm going to tell you mine. And these are the things I haven't said. You heard, you didn't invite me to that birthday party. You never did this. So there's this laundry list of things you're harboring and and even if you want to get mad at me or I owe you an apology, I want to have all of those dialogues with you so that we can put the past in the past.
Yeah. And it feels like the thing that I keep learning, because I definitely grew up feeling like in my nervous system that conflict equals death.
Yes.
And so it's been a big mountain to climb to speak the truth. And so the thing I keep telling myself is that conflict is an opportunity for greater intimacy. Conflict is an opportunity for greater intimacy if it's handled well. And something that I've learned from you is this idea of saying back what you heard, in like the classic A-B conversation. Okay, I heard you say this.
Yes.
Did I get that right?
Yes.
Is there anything else?
Yes.
Right? Like,
yes.
So that when you're doing this, you're like, one, you get permission,
yes.
right? You like ask for consent.
Yes.
A very good student.
You are a very good student. I was more like, how do they even write it?
Right. Which I think they're two separate things. It feels like what you gave was like the preparation, right?
Yes.
Like
what you're writing, all your conversations, how you get the lies out.
How do I even know what I need to say? What do I think they're going to say? How do I want it to go? Why am I doing this? That's like all the prep. And then we want to get consent, and then we want to have it, and then it's like, and then give them the opportunity to say back. Or give them the opportunity to share. And when they do, say back what you heard.
That's right.
I heard you say this. I see that you feel this.
Yes.
Did I get that right?
Yes.
Is there anything else? And it is wild. Like, I think Oprah Winfrey says that after her show, almost every person came over and said, how was that? How did I do? Like, we all just want to be seen. We just want to look good. We just want to be heard. So if you can say back to someone what you heard, the value in that is so powerful.
Yeah. And I think, because I teach this all the time, that we really think people hear us. We really think what I said was clear. And it would be brilliant to figure out what you said will never be clear unless you get verification.
Say that again?
You will never know.
I'm demonstrating it in real time. I don't know what you just said.
So you don't know if the person heard you unless it's been verified.
Like they say it back.
So what did you hear me say? Right? Because you can even just get something simple not agreed upon.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if I really want to go out for dinner. Right. And then what did you hear? Like the person didn't even hear you say, I don't want to go.
Yeah. We're dealing with that right now in our relationship, right? Like we had a conversation.
Yes.
We didn't write it down.
That's right.
And now we're like having to retroactively remember something from 4 years ago.
That's right.
And so I think I'm really learning that lesson loud right now of like say it and then write it down. Okay. Like this is what we decided upon, or this is what we agreed upon, especially with friends.
Yeah. I definitely have that issue myself. I certainly do. And have been learning the hard way that I need to actually verify everything. I don't get too mad about it. I accept it about myself, right? So another thing I teach is how to own your freak flags, right? Like what is really uniquely you, and fly your freak flags, like own what's uniquely you, and then warn people, right? So they know what to expect. And then they can choose you as you are or not, right? Which is another way people don't tell the truth, right? Which is, this is who I'm going to be. I'm not going to feel bad about who I am, right? So,
Yeah, this feels like in a dating situation or in an employee situation, or you're a boss, you're working together. It's just like, hey, these are the ways that I'm awesome and these are the ways that I'm challenging.
Yes.
So people can know what they're signing up for.
And then that's also one of the most liberating things in a relationship, which is another reason you have to get to what you're hiding, right? What you're not coming clean about with another person, which is another way to think about it, is that you're lying or hiding information about yourself, like hoping they're going to be okay with your dark side, like what isn't great about you, right? So you have to know what's great about you, and you also have to know what isn't great about you.
So because I know you've worked with some of the world's like most successful entrepreneurs, fanciest celebrities, like, you've been in corporations, universities, schools, celebrities, movie stars. If you think about your deathbed slideshow,
Oh.
And you're on your deathbed and you're just like, whoa, like it's just all coming up. The people that you work with, the companies you help build, the movies you help make. Like, is there anything that stands out of something you'd be particularly proud of in a way that, and I guess in relationship to this conversation, to where specifically like you help them clean up their lives, and then magic happened on the other side?
God, so I think, because cleaning up lies, another way to say it is telling the truth, right? And so, and also sorting out your truth is a very brave act. And so one of the things I have people do is write their like greatest bucket list, right? For their dreams, right? Like if you could fulfill on your life, what would it be? And a lot of us are actually hiding and lying about what our greatest dreams would be because we're scared we're not going to achieve them. And so I get to pressure people to write their greatest dreams. And so what I am most proud of in my career is helping people chase the biggest dreams of their life that they really weren't chasing. And so I can think of, Amir Questlove, who's chasing his directing dreams, right? And wants his music in stadiums, right? And was scared to want that, right? Like fully want that, like out of his mouth and big. And so I get people to deal with their fears or the ways they're withholding their truth, which I think is really, and so even, Hugh Jackman's greatest list of what he would be achieving is, such a privilege to get to know his greatest dreams and then to help make those happen, right?
And like The Greatest Showman, right? Like the movie, there was like magic there.
Oh, that was one of my favorite stories. Like that was an amazing story where he told the truth about needing to change, like re-edit it. Like he actually like went for it, and definitely it's like one of the greatest box office movies ever, musicals ever. And now there's like many more of those, right? So that's, Wicked was really awesome, right? Did you see it yet?
Not yet. So really excited.
Good. It's very good. So I would say, bless you.
Thank you.
I would say that we withhold our greatest dreams, and I would like everyone to think of that as lies.
Withholding your dream is a form of lying.
Yes.
Meaning, like, if you're not willing to admit what your big dream is, then that is a way that we lie to ourselves.
That is exactly right. We withhold that life is meant to be what you wish it was, right? And then that doesn't mean it's all about achievement and it's actually just about pursuing your dreams.
Yeah.
And believing in yourself, right? And then that makes you learn how to say everything. That makes you learn how, like it creates the direction of your life.
It's like the magnetism of the dream gives you the bravery to clean up the lies and to have the hard conversations. And I've also found that,
yes.
And I'm tuning into, have I always been an audacious dreamer, or did you help me with that? I think it's been both. I think I am naturally a very audacious dreamer.
I mean, we go back to you having fears about, like, you were with some teacher back in the day, right? Like, I don't even remember where you were. Like, you were not like, who me make it like I could do anything I want to do, including your sex magic and all your, like, everything. You have to dream your dreams, and then you have to, like, it. You need a.
Yes.
You need a.
I need some reminding of my greatness. But I think if I tune back to like 8-year-old Emily, and I'm like, I'm going to be on Broadway. You know what I mean? Like, no question. I'm moving to Broadway. 2 days after I moved to New York, I get my Broadway debut. You know what I mean? I'm like, like I just have always had an audacity to me.
Yes.
And then I think what happens in like our 20s and 30s, I speak for myself.
Yes.
For me, I wasn't meditating yet, and I got nervous and scared and human and adult, and all the traumas pile up, and we stop believing in our like bigness and our audacity and our dreams. And so I feel like I get that you help like remind people of that and their greatness.
I demand they write it up, right? Like, so all of my work has you has a person deal with their voice and really dream and design their lives from thinking about that you're the spiritual architect of your life.
That's good.
And that if you're not designing it, what's happening then? Right? Like then you're just what is it if you haven't designed it? And then I teach personal integrity, which is, being able to keep a promise to yourself. So one of the things I always find is people are much better at keeping promises to everybody else because they have to in order to keep people happy. But, you'll blow yourself off. And so I'm not managing who you are with other people. I'm managing who you are on the inside and with yourself on the outside. Mm-hmm. And that is your soul. Mm-hmm. Right? And your higher self would really love your lower self and your highest lower self to shut the fuck up and give you a chance to fly. But all of your lower self and your highest lower self are fear-based and practical and scared. And so those are so I have come up with so many different ways to nail your own inner dialogue so that you can hear your truths, your dreams, and that you're willing to take the actions, which is the next big jump.
Take the actions.
Yes.
But this is why I think it's so important for people to have coaches, because to your point of we will blow off promises to ourselves. But if you're going to meet with that coach, it's well, did you do the thing you said you're going to do? Did you take the action on the dream? Did you write those lies? Because literally no one, I don't know anyone except for maybe you and Lori Gerber, who will write down your lies and do this homework on your own, unless someone is holding your hand and someone is putting the mirror up to you. Yes. and saying hey, this is costing you your dreams. Yes. And I'd love to talk about the relationship between telling the truth, being in integrity, and manifesting, right? Because obviously I'm big on manifesting and embody manifesting. So help us understand the relationship between telling the truth and manifesting your dreams.
Well, first you have to know your dreams, right? So you have to be willing to have a dream, know your dream, whatever it is, big or small. Okay. Then as we've all, you can either, and then I would say I developed a word. You can either be manifesting or fucking yourself, right? And so when you're manifesting, you not only see it, but you feel it, and you're willing to take the actions that even come up in your own mind about what to do to fulfill on that dream. So that's the clear way to do it. Otherwise, what's happening, and I think this is happening, you're either manifesting or manifucking in my book. And if you're manifucking yourself, you're literally thinking to yourself why it won't work, which is also manifesting that you can't have your dream. Right? So your inner dialogue is always yammering at you, and you always have to know what it's saying, because it's always directing your experience. And so we're never not manifesting. We're never not talking to ourselves. And we're never not directing the story of our lives. And so this is all about taking over so you're true to your best life ever.
Mm-hmm. And what I found is the braver I am to tell the truth, the braver I am to clean things up, the more magnetic I become, the more magic happens, the more the manifestations happen.
Yes.
And it feels like that's akin to, if you're not in integrity with yourself, if you're not managing this inner dialogue, then you're manifucking, or what I've adapted, I think, to manifearing, right? Because it's just you're letting the fear run the ship. Yeah.
Yeah. And everything you want usually has something to do with a person, right? In your job, there's people. With your kids, there is no way that your dreams aren't connected to what's coming out of your mouth and who you're talking to, how you're talking to yourself, and how you're talking in the world. And then if you're either being true to yourself and you know it, or you're not. One of the promises I have, right? So as a coach, I help people actually tell me their inner dialogue, and I categorize it: lower self, highest lower self, And then your talk back is your higher self. Like, what does your higher self say to those two voices? And that's the game changer, right? And then especially if you have someone witnessing it, like actually caring, then you start to empower your higher self. Like, what do you really think? What do you really want to say? Most people don't even know they have to engage their higher self. Does that make sense?
Like they'll just let the lies, let the fear, let it run the ship.
That's right. So if you're not decoding what you're thinking by telling on it and witness, like if you're not the witness to the voices in your head, you can't take over.
Well, that's very meditation-like of you, right? That it's like knower, knowing, and known. It's the observer and the observed.
Thank you.
So can you give us a little window into how has meditation impacted your life and your work?
Well, I always love the way you described it, which was meditation is healing and making your hardware great. And the Handel method in life coaching was how you deal with your software.
Yeah.
So I would say that my ability to be the witness to all the thought chaos, meditation profoundly helps me watch it go by, right? And realize that there's in life and of life. And in life is, what am I doing? What am I going? Oh, it's never going to happen. Like, shh, right? And of life is like, aw, to be human. Aw, right? Like, oh, all your memories, everything. Like one day I'll be 80. I know that. I once was 6. Right? Of life can hold all of it and be the witness to everything happening in the moment. And so I think meditation is that depth and understanding. And if you don't have it, meditate, right? For sure. For sure.
Because I do find that without it, like if you don't have a way to get out of that involuntary survival mechanism, that involuntary fight or flight, then it's just much more challenging to do this work. It's much more challenging to face the fears, to tell the truth, because the nervous system can hijack it unless you have someone just literally being like, if you don't do this by Thursday, I'm firing you as a client. It's like you need someone who's going to threaten the fear more than the fear is threatening you.
Yes.
And I find that if you're meditating, if you're regulating your nervous system every day with Ziva twice a day, it's like, yes, the fear is still there. Yes, the stories are still there. But with equal measure and the ability to choose which voice you want to listen to is this highest self, is the of life voice, is the witnesser.
Yes.
And that is extraordinarily powerful, obviously in all of life, but I think especially for people who are doing medicine work, coaching work, because then it's giving you, like you said, the hardware, right? Like now you can't run fancy brand new software on an old PC from 1995. Like it just literally won't run. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to fit AI levels of information in very stressed out brains.
I love that.
So we got to upgrade these brains of ours.
Yes.
And the software in equal measures.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's also, even when you get everything you want, being actually learning how to be at peace and happy with what you have is also a kicker.
Well, we were just having a conversation about exited founders, right? Like people who work so hard to build these companies, make all this money, they exit, they have piles of cash, they think they're going to be happy, and they're like, now what?
Exactly.
Now what do I do?
Right. That is a huge, like we think once we get it, once you get to that weight on the scale, once you get married, once you have your baby, right? Once you've started your business, then you'll be happy. Like we have this moving target. And so I do think enjoying being alive is an of concept, which comes from meditation and just being.
Yeah, but even as you're saying this, I feel like I'm having the realization of we play this joke on ourselves. We're like in this story, like, oh, I'll be happy when. I call it the I'll be happy when syndrome.
Yes.
My happiness will come on the other side of something.
Yes.
But we also have an equally prevalent lie of this thing I'm afraid of is going to be so bad when it happens.
That's right.
Like I just came kicking and screaming moving into the country and now I love it. Like the joke is that the thing I was so angry about and so scared of, I now love.
Yes.
I think I read some quote the other day that was like, you're going to find out that you jump off the cliff that you were so terrified of to find out that it was a feather bed.
Yes, we make nightmares in our mind. Right. Like, so, and we're at the end of a year and I do, and everyone who takes Inner You can be in master classes with me. Right. And so we're at
what's Inner You?
Inner You is, so I have Inner You Life, Inner You Love, and Inner You Career. And you could say all of my content that I've ever developed over my 20 some odd years is in each of those programs. And it's a digital, like modules, listen, and then has an app and then there's all ways to track your promises. It's awesome.
It is really, really good.
It is awesome.
It's really good.
And so basically, but once you buy one program, you can be with me for the rest of your life, right? And I love teaching every week, right? So what's happening is we're all keeping promises, we're all ending the year, we're all right. And then the biggest thing that people think is so scary is facing failure, right? Like, can you face your failures? And then when you get a whole group of people going, I failed at this, me too, right? Like everyone just like can love themselves because they went for it and it didn't turn out. Right. And then it starts to have the zone of what you're doing in your life and then being of life. And I think that is a required, in order to really even be an amazing achiever, you have to not give a shit too.
I like to say detachment is sexy.
Right.
And I think meditation helps you to be detached because you're plugging into the observer.
That's right. That's right. Right. Because if you, this has to be the fun of being alive, is making all of these things happen. And your dreams are like what you're doing in between eating and sleeping. Right.
Oh, your dreams are what you're doing between eating and sleeping. I love that.
That's right.
And yet I find that we get so busy doing all the rest of the stuff besides our dreams. That's just fear. That's just avoiding the big ones.
I think, well, so according to science,
let's hear it.
According to science, over 80% of our thoughts are negative.
Whoa.
Fear-based, which is like worry and to-dos, right? And only 20% of our thoughts are like, yay, positive, what you really want to be thinking about. And so when I understood that, I go, oh, you know what I do for a living is I get people dreaming, like talking to the 20%. And growing the 20% and even making sure that what you're saying to yourself is only not positive, but actually dream-based, love-based. Even if you're sitting in the car, make sure you're listening to music and singing up a storm, right? Like, are you having fun being alive?
Well, it feels like fun is the antidote to both the I'll be happy when syndrome and the this cliff is going to kill me syndrome.
I agree.
Right? It's like the more fun we can have right now, the more present we're going to be right now, the better we feel right now, the more magic we're going to attract. And it doesn't absolve you from the responsibility of telling the truth. Yeah. It doesn't make the fear go away, but it does like put you into your body right here, right now, which is the only place that bliss can happen, which is here and now.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. That's right. And so developing as if it's a 2-lane highway, like your ambition and all the things you want to achieve is not the same thing as are you happy in your life?
Okay, say more about that.
Okay, so are you happy in your life is, do you tell the truth? Do you respect yourself? Do you like how you are in your life, like with all those achievements, right? So you could be an achiever, but you could be the greatest worrywart there ever was. And as you're doing it, you're so intense, right? And you scare your kids, right? As you're cleaning, right? So there's how you are being, which is the meditation and the of life, and then what it is you're doing. And then what you're doing should be the dreams, but who you're being should be your personality and how you're interacting with life. So I always separate the two.
This is so interesting because we just did our offsite for Ziva, And it was I emailed about this. It was one of the scariest emails I've ever written. Because I realized at the offsite, I was like, oh no, the team is wildly out of integrity. The company, not the team, the company is out of integrity. They were burned out. They were stressed out. They were exhausted.
That's right.
And I was like, oh no, like what have I done? Like, how did we get here?
Right.
And it's like, and we've been very successful. Like we launched a new program. We migrated websites. We did a new learning platform. We were down half a team. So like it was like on paper, we had accomplished a lot. But like, I was like, oh no, at what cost?
That's right.
And so we spent the whole offsite basically just like cleaning shit up. And I just sat one by one and I let every single one of them tell me everything that had upset them and what it had cost them and the ways that they were hurting. And then we burned it into the fire and we danced. And then the next day, like with all of that space that we created, with all of that integrity, we were able to dream this like 10x dream.
That's it.
And
That's the model.
Yeah.
That's exactly the method. That's exactly it. Like purge, tell the truth, deal with all the crap, own it all, and then have a vision, but also put in rules.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you're not
So now it's like there's a
rebooting the same
principle
pain.
of like say the truth in real time with love, and then we're gonna do a quarterly cleanup where it's just like once a quarter we're doing like, you know, all the stuff that hasn't been said. Now's the time to say
That's
it.
right.
And I think that the way I'm making this a win is like if we were able to accomplish what we accomplished being out of alignment and integrity, like imagine what we're gonna be able to accomplish now that things are more clean, you know?
I mean, it's when I go into a company and we get everyone to be allowed to say everything that doesn't work. Like we have your negative freak flags, right? And so you're allowed to tell on everybody's negative freak flags. And then what you're going to do to like how to clean up your freak flag. It's a game changer because you're not bad for having one. Everybody has them. And as long as the CEO is willing to like throw their freak flags out and then everyone gets to tell it's the game changer of using the truth to set everyone
And people
free.
are telling on themselves or telling on each other.
Both.
Oh,
Right. You make
interesting.
your own freak flags. Right. You come to the meeting prepared with what you think everyone else is going to say.
About you.
Yeah. Yeah. You know. Right. And so, and then they say, right. And then you write out your own and then everyone's allowed to, you know, I'm translating them all. So they're not
Reading. Susie
right?
said, I did this.
And so we're figuring them out. And then what happens is you start, and then we just start making a rating from 1 to 5. You know, 1 is you're doing great, 5 is you suck, right? And then the game is to change that freak flag to stop doing it, right? Or so there's all these ways to make it safe to tell the truth and to stop pretending you're supposed to be perfect.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is that I had someone there facilitating the offsite and he works with like, you know, let's just like some of the titans in the industry.
Yes.
And he was like, I just want you to know that this is very common, that like whatever the thing is that the
Yeah.
person is selling oftentimes shows up in the company. And I think had he not like been saying that to me, I would have been too ashamed. You know, I would have felt like, oh, like the shame would have actually taken over because I would have felt like I'm failing. I've done something horribly
Yes.
wrong. But because it was like, no, like this is the medicine. Right? Like
Yes.
you're teaching meditation and your company's stressed out. You solve it inside of the company.
Yes.
You're going to be even more equipped to help the people that you're helping.
That's
And so
right.
it was like, okay, I'm just going to take this medicine and just realize that it's a spiral of healing, not a straight line. So it was a big learning.
awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, I felt really proud of myself. It was really hard and scary and sad, but
Yes.
I'm sharing it because I imagine that there are lots of people listening who have something in their life they don't want to deal with or feel like there's a
Yes.
piece of shame or something they don't want to admit. And it's like if we can remove the shame and just see that this is our medicine, this is the syllabus.
Yeah.
And if we can lovingly tell the truth, that we don't know what kind of magic will happen, but we know that it will be magic.
Yeah, no, you know, I can just, this week, right? So I'm having, so, you know, someone who's building a business is writing her parent letters, like getting resolved and everything she never said to her parents. But if you look at what she's never dealt with and said to her parents and you go, is that what's happening in her business? It has a ba-dum-bum, right? Like, oh, right. And so the revelation of taking full responsibility of all the ways she didn't talk to her mother or have all those conversations was exactly the way she was with her business partner. Was like, like, oh my God. And then she could go back to the business partner and do her true laundry list of everything she hasn't said, but start to own it from like, I do this, I don't do this, I now see this, right? And then you still get to tell the whole truth of everything that wasn't working.
But
So
you're just owning it.
You're owning that it's your vantage, right? And it changed everything.
Oh,
With like went from mom to business partner in a way that, in 1 week, which is also like what you're saying, it can change everything a lot quicker.
yeah.
And then you get to that from figuring out what you're lying about or what you're hiding or accepting. Another word for it that I think might actually help people is I have another client that I can think of. Tolerating. Like another way to get to your list is everything you're tolerating in your life you wish you weren't tolerating or that you wish wasn't so. Like you wish it wasn't true. And that's also a lie list, right? Like everything you're tolerating is a way you're lying and accepting things that you're really not happy with.
Yeah, that's good. That's good for like the recovering codependents, people pleasers. What are we tolerating? What are we overcompensating for?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how can people like take an action? They're like, okay, I want to start telling the truth. I want to clean up my lies. I want to stop tolerating. I want more magic. I want to be of my life, not in my life. Like, how would you recommend people start?
Pick one area of your life. Write the dream, like write a vision for yourself, like where you want to be in a year. Like I am like with the love of my life, like write a dream, a vision, and then make a list of all the things your head says for why it can't happen, like all the ways cannot happen or why it's hard or what you're blaming and really believing that's breaking your own heart, right? From thinking you can have that dream exactly the way you want it. And that's a lie list, right? And that list itself of all the ways you're believing that, it really has some like, well, if I wasn't believing this and I really wanted that dream, what would the action list be? I'd be on a dating site. I would start looking for a new job. I would what? Right? And trust me, you could sit with your friend and do this with each other and on each other. It may not be ideal to do it alone. Yeah.
So I'm going to write down, so I'm going to pick an area of my life. Like, let's say it's either career or body or relationship. So I'm going to write down, okay, this is my dream of dreams relationship. Write that down. It doesn't have to be long, right? Couple paragraphs.
Yeah. And I mean, from anyone who's listening who's in a marriage, take your sex life.
Okay.
Right? Like, what would you like it to be? Because that also gets boring and,
Yeah, just because you're in a relationship does not mean you can't have your dream relationship.
That's right.
We can mold this into our dream.
And you have a willing participant.
Yeah. Okay, so you write your dream, and then you write all the reasons that your head is saying, I can't have that.
That's right. Everything you're blaming, all the excuses you have for why that's not possible.
Okay. And then what do we do?
And then you go, well, what I always do, one promise you could make that would change your life in that area.
Okay, so we have not talked about promises and consequences, but this is something that we talk about a lot. And it's just especially with meditation, it's so valuable. And I quote you all the time.
Love that promise.
Where it's like your promise with meditation was like, I can't have coffee until I do my morning meditation.
That's still the right promise
and
I have.
can't have screens until I do my second meditation.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so simple.
It works, right? If you actually have personal integrity, like you'll keep a promise with yourself, right? Every coffee drinker don't have coffee till you meditate. And everyone even agrees with that.
Yeah.
Right. And, or, don't have your phone in the room is another
really bad at that one.
Right.
Because then what do you do? I mean, it just feels like, okay, music, Audible, alarm clocks. Like I need a device that is not my phone that does all the things that I now am dependent on for electronics. This is a solvable problem. People have solved this problem.
Did she just say buy an alarm clock? Is that
but
all
also
she
something
said?
that would play Audible and something that would,
Why?
I listen to books as I go to sleep.
Well, now you're doing something else. If you love your rituals, then that's not it, right?
Okay.
Like I don't have a phone problem.
Okay, I do.
I don't have a phone problem.
I do.
Yeah. Okay. So you need to. So now we're into what
So
is
maybe
the
I need
right
an alarm
promise.
clock that gives me bedtime stories. There's certainly someone's invented this.
Something, or just like that, device. Yeah. There's some device that would solve your problem.
Yeah, like an iPad or something.
I was thinking about that. I have an extra iPad that I do not use.
It's like not connected to the internet.
It's not working well, right? Like it's
But
not.
it could
It's
play
not your thing.
Audible.
It doesn't have your email on it. It doesn't have anything you really could get like down the wormhole on.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, solvable problem.
Yeah.
Solvable
So
problem.
this is the process, right? Like only a higher self will negotiate how to kick that thing out. Mm-hmm. But the lower self and the highest lower self are like, but you need it and I like it. And right. So your vices get their ass kicked, but it has to be for a dream, which is why do you want to go to bed differently? Right. So, right. And I really do keep promises with all of my clients and they all need vice promises. Like seriously.
So just for people who are new to promises and consequences, the promises is something that you're agreeing to and it has a specific deadline. There's like, I'm going to do X by X, right? So it's like, I'm doing X amount of things by X amount
That's
of
right.
time. Very specific. Not like, I'm going to be healthier
No.
or I'm going to go
Yeah.
to the gym more.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm going to go to the gym for 20 minutes minimum, at least 3 times a
That's
week,
right.
every week.
That's right.
And if I don't, the consequence then, and this is something that I learned from you that I love so much, is the consequence is not punitive.
No.
It is not harming you, but it is
No.
coming after your vices.
That's right.
And I love this idea that the consequence comes after your vice, that you're using your vices to fuel your dreams, which is
That's
just
right.
genius.
I needed that, right? In order for me to get weed, right? I have to have everything done, so that right? Like, so it's like you use your vice as a reward.
So if yours is wine, it's like, okay, I've meditated twice. I've
That's
gone to
right.
the gym. I've
Right.
done the thing with my kid,
That's
and
right.
and then I can have wine.
Yes. And then if you can't keep a promise, it really is a vice, and then it's headed for sobriety, right? Like if you can't keep a promise with yourself and keep your own consequence, that area is an addiction, right? And then you have to, that's a different
Plan.
That's a different pickle,
It's a different coach.
right? That's a different problem, and it's really worth facing that too, right? Which then usually scares most people into keeping their promises and consequences,
Because I don't want to be identified as having an addiction.
like a real one that they can't master or manage. Like it has you, you don't have it.
Yeah. Is there anything that you wish that I had asked you? Anything you're like, man, I really wanted to share about this?
I think it's hysterical because I just wrote a new book, right? I just wrote a new book, and in the new book there's like over 25 ways humans lie.
Whoa.
Right.
We got 7, so we'll have to...
So as I hear you being like, Lauren, how are you going to get anybody to want to deal with their lies? Like, this is such a heavy, I'm like, but it's so amazing. It's the best. It's where your higher self lives. And then I'm like, oh, there's so much more lying that we're doing. I'm like, and I don't think anyone's really talking about that. About how much humans lie to themselves, but we can now see it in America, right? How much lying is ruling.
It's getting real loud.
Yeah. So I
real
just
loud.
want to say it's the only way out, right? It's like really so I don't have any question you should have asked. I've just been like, I understand it's scary to think about or talk about, and it's also the thing that you are most scared of with other people, that they're lying to you. Right? You're scared they're not telling you the truth.
Interesting. I don't have that fear. I just assume everyone is telling me the truth.
Yeah, you'll read my new book.
Can we get the title yet, or is it still a secret?
It's still it's not like it's not the
takes a minute.
The publishers have opinions, and it's in
Right.
its own time frame.
Okay.
So no, I don't really know it yet.
Okay.
But it might be, maybe it's them.
Because your first book is called Maybe
Maybe
It's
It's You.
You.
So this is after you fully take responsibility and you tell the truth and you do everything you can. It's like, what do you do when there really is them, right? When there really is the rest of the world that isn't operating like you wish it was.
Fascinating. Fascinating. And so if people want to work with you right now, actually one more question before we wrap up, and that is there anything that you feel like the world is not quite ready for, but that is medicine that you would love to disseminate?
I think we really like, the only thing that I think about is I really hate the word confrontation, and that people thinking that telling the truth is a confrontation, right? And it makes like it's not. It's your truth, and then there's results that happen by telling the truth, and you'll have to stop manipulating everything, right? Like it's such a con that the truth gets such a bad rap. It's like I'm pissed and no one's ready to face how the truth gets such a bad rap. Right? And that I can't believe we still don't believe in telling the truth yet, and that everyone still thinks lying is a virtue.
Well, what's interesting is that I think as you're saying that, we do almost fetishize the truth. We write poems about it, write songs about it, this idea of the truth. But I think what is overshadowing that is the shame around identifying oneself as a liar.
And only the dark side would make it a nightmare to tell the truth. Okay? Like it is so the dark side to make the truth the bad guy. Like, oh, everything's going to fall apart. Everything's going to be terrible. If you tell the truth about your life and what you want and what you think, it'll be a disaster.
Well, okay,
like amazing, right? Like that is like the darkest, like lying wins and the truth is confrontation.
Well, I feel like we could instill this with our parenting, because I have a philosophy with my son, like, look, if you tell me the truth, it's going to be, I can't say you're never going to get in trouble, because that's not true. Like there might be consequences to him telling me the truth, but I try to be very specific and say, like, if you tell me the truth, it is always going to work out better for you. It's always going to be better.
Yes.
And he did it. He's like, Mommy, do you have cameras on me? And I was like, what do you mean, buddy? And I was like, did you get up and get snacks last night? And he just starts laughing because I didn't get him dessert. He went to bed without dessert, which was a consequence to an action. And so then he fully got up the next morning and got snacks, but he told me, and I was celebrating that he told me.
I see now that's exactly the funky rub of telling the truth. Right.
Yeah.
And then I agree with exactly what you just did.
Yeah.
Right. My kids were always allowed to tell the whole truth, and I wasn't allowed to control them because of it.
So but was there ever consequences? Did they ever tell you something where you're like, oh no, this is against the rule, you've broken a law, you've broken integrity or whatever, and that there was some reaction to that? Like, did they get in trouble ever for telling the truth, is what I'm asking.
No. Right. We didn't. I really was not, if you're not going to control, sex and drugs, and they were allowed to, they don't get to drive, right? Like you make sure they're healthy and well. But if you're not going to like control it, or even control how good you do in school, then the kid has nothing to lie about. Right. So I wasn't trying to make sure they got straight A's, and I wasn't trying to make sure they never had a drink or could shag anybody they want. Like it's like I really was, I'd rather know you and your soul and everything you want your life to be than I'm going to control it. And the only thing I care about is you eat 3 meals, you sleep, right? You go to bed, right? Like you're healthy and clean and you go to all your doctors, right?
Humans are hilarious. I love how different our priorities all are. Okay, so how can people find you? Where can people find, if they want to coach with you personally, if they want to do Inner You, if they want to read your book? Can you tell us all the things?
Okay, so I'm Lauren Zander, and you can definitely find me on Instagram. You can find me anywhere.
What's your handle on Instagram?
Right?
You have a lot of them.
Yeah, so we have Inner You with a U, inner with a U.
At INNERU.
You.
Okay, great.
Right. Well, no. So one of my websites is inneryou.coach. Mm-hmm. And then Lauren Handel Zander is, you can find me on
That's your Instagram.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
my Instagram.
Great. So
Sorry, everybody.
inneryou.coach.
Yes.
And Lauren Handel Zander on Instagram.
That's right. And then Handel Group is my website.
Okay.
Right. And so all roads lead back to finding me. But Inner You is my digital programs.
Yeah, and we'll
my
put a link to
community.
that as well in the show notes because it's so, it really is like as a woman who created the world's first online meditation training back in 2013. So I've been in this game for a very long time. It is an extraordinary online course. Like the layout, the content, the interactivity, the way you feel supported, the design of it. I mean, it's so you. It's so like quirky and weird and brilliant and awesome.
Thank you.
And effective.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard to communicate how much, like if you really did inner you, like soup to nuts, like your life is going to look so extraordinarily different. Like you will clean up your hauntings, you will write parent letters, you will learn how to have difficult conversations. Like it's all in there. Like you really put it all in there.
It's all in there.
And I think the trick is like having the discipline to really do it all yourself. And I think that's why I think many of us need coaches, because it's like, okay, well, this is on my calendar and there's another human holding my hand and now I've put money in the game.
Yes.
And so do you take on personal clients still? You have a team of coaches? Like how does that work?
So I am always open for business for new clients, but I'm pretty expensive. Mm-hmm. And then, and I go into companies and I have a group of coaches who are either licensors or work directly, or who are employed with Handel Group. Mm-hmm. So come find us.
Great.
We rock.
Yeah. It's it's really been like a lot of the personal and professional success has come from our coaching together and cleaning up the lies and being, brave enough to dream really big. And so thank you for that.
Yes.
All right, sweet friends. I hope that you have enjoyed this very honest, very truth-telly episode of Why Isn't Everyone Doing This with the amazing Lauren Zander. If you enjoyed this episode, if you learned something about yourself or telling the truth or cleaning up lies or promises and consequences, you can take a screenshot of this and share it on Instagram. I'm at Ziva Meditation. She's at Inner You Coach. Just Inner You. What's the Instagram?
InnerYou.coach.
But what's the Instagram?
I think there's InnerYou.coach on
We're
going
to find it. We're going to search for it.
Welcome to one of my freak flags.
Lauren's not the admin person, you guys. But if you enjoyed this, screenshot it, tag us, find us, let us know what you enjoyed. Also, if you leave a 5-star rating and share in the comments what were your ahas, that really helps to get this media as medicine out into the world. And as always, if you want to learn more about Ziva, you can find us over at zivameditation.com. I love you, and I will see you next week on Why Isn't Everyone Doing This?